friends. I hope you all had a fun and safe 4th of July. So let's get right into our lesson. It's an important one, and it's about something we will all experience during our life here on earth, and that is sadness. However, we will learn today how God comforts us when we are feeling hurt and sad. The verse we will be learning from today is Matthew chapter 5, verse 4. God blesses those who mourn, for they will be comforted. You may not know what the word mourn means. Well, it's a word that describes the feeling of loss and sadness. You may have experienced this feeling when someone you love dies, maybe even your cat or dog. Did you know even Jesus felt loss and sadness? The Bible gives us many accounts of times when Jesus felt this way. When Jesus heard of his cousin John the Baptist's death, Jesus went to be alone. When Jesus heard of Lazarus' death, Jesus cried tears of sadness. If Jesus got sad sometimes, then we know it's okay for us to be sad also. Everyone gets sad, and Jesus knows we will experience lots of sadness and loss in this life, but he offers us great hope in God through the words he spoke that are written in the Bible. Like our verse from Matthew, God blesses those who mourn, for they will be comforted. A blessing is God's favor and protection. Now, it may not feel like sadness is God favoring us and protecting us. It actually feels like he isn't protecting us. However, it's during these times that we feel the saddest, that we actually become closer to God. As we feel sad, we reach out to God to feel his love for us, and we learn more about who he is and just how much he loves us. God created us to have many different emotions. When we feel a different emotion, our bodies can take over and act differently. Our faces change, our body language changes. We might even make some sounds to express how we're feeling, like a sigh when we're feeling bored. Why do you think God created us to have different emotions? God made us in his image. So that means he also has many different emotions. Although we don't express them in the right way all the time, like God does, God understands us because we are made like him. So there is no one in the whole world who better understands us when we are sad than God. Sometimes when we are sad, it can feel like our hearts are broken or crushed. There's a verse in the book of Psalms that describes this feeling. Verse 34:18 says, "The Lord is near the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." This verse tells us that God is near us when we feel this way. We can know that when we are sad and hurt, that he is with us, even though we can't see him. So there's a man in the Bible named Nehemiah who knew what it felt like to be very sad. You can read about him from the book named after him, Nehemiah. So his story takes place in Persia, where Nehemiah lived in a king's palace. He was a cupbearer. This means he would serve drinks at the royal table. But Persia wasn't his real home. He was a Jewish man and came from Jerusalem. One day, one of his brothers came to visit him from Jerusalem and told him that things were not so well. The wall of Jerusalem had been torn down and the gates destroyed by fire. Nehemiah was very sad about what had happened. Jerusalem's walls were in ruins. During that time, when all the cities, they had these huge walls to protect the people living inside from armies of other cities who would want to harm them and maybe take over their city. Without a wall, the people, including Nehemiah's family, would be attacked and hurt. Thinking about this happening made him so sad, he cried. He didn't eat, and he prayed for many days. He prayed that God would hear his prayers and that the king he served would be kind to him and let him go home and rebuild the wall. Have you ever turned to God and prayed when you were feeling sad? I have. And Nehemiah did too. God heard his prayer and answered him. The Bible tells us that the king let him go to Jerusalem and rebuild the wall because the hand of God was upon him. Now, when he arrives in Jerusalem, Nehemiah and the people rebuild the wall. Even though they faced threats from an enemy, they finished the wall in only 52 days. This was a big wall, so that's pretty impressive. That must have made him very happy, knowing that his people and his family would have protection. Unfortunately, lots of people have things happen to them, like what happened to Nehemiah. Many families lose their homes to fires, tornadoes, floods, earthquakes, and even because they lost their job and they can't pay for it anymore. We can be like the king and help people who experience loss. We can comfort them with cards or flowers, maybe give our time helping them in some way, or donate some money so they can have a new home. God shows comfort to his children through other people, like you. You can be a part of blessing someone who is feeling sad and show them God's love. If you know someone who is sad, will you ask God to help you show them comfort? And if you are feeling sad, remember that Jesus understands and he'll always be with you no matter what. We may feel sad many times in our lifetime, but don't forget that one day when we are in heaven, there will be no more sadness and no more loss. And God can help you through anything until that day comes. So I hope you guys all have a great week, and I will see you next time. No, not one. Oh, Jesus.